Have you ever had that moment where you can remember some ridiculous urban legend you heard years ago, but you can't for the life of you recall a key statistic from a meeting you were in just this morning? Well, today, we're cracking open Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath to figure out exactly why some ideas survive and spread while others just fade away.
Okay, let's dive right in with a story. You've probably heard a version of this one. It's about a friend of a friend who's on a business trip. He goes down to the hotel bar to grab a quick drink, and, well, that's pretty much the last thing he remembers.
He starts to panic, calls 911, and the dispatcher tells him the horrifying truth. He's been the victim of an organ harvesting ring. Now, here's the thing. Even though that story is totally 100% false, I'm willing to bet you're going to remember it. So that gets us to the real question, right? Why does that story stick in your brain when so many important and actually true ideas just vanish? This is what the authors call the stickiness problem. In this absolute flood of information we live in, how come only a tiny, tiny fraction of it actually sinks in? And then there's this. This is the kind of stuff we usually get, right? It's abstract, it's jammed with buzzwords, and you've already forgotten it. It's just corporate wallpaper. And this is the mystery we're unpacking today. Why the kidney heist story will beat the generic mission statement every single time. The main reason our ideas fail to stick has a name, and it's called the curse of knowledge. This is the villain of our story today. See, once you know something, it's almost impossible to imagine what it was like not to know it. It's like you're speaking a different language and you don't even realize it, and your message just gets lost in translation. Let me show you just how powerful this curse is with a brilliant, simple experiment from Stanford. They set up two groups. One group, the tappers, would tap out the rhythm of a super famous song, like Happy Birthday. The other group, the listeners, just had to guess the song. Sounds easy enough, right? Get this. The listeners guessed the song correctly only 2.5% of the time. But the tappers, who could hear the full melody playing inside their own heads, they predicted the listeners would guess right 50% of the time. That huge gap between 50% and 2.5%, that right there is the curse of knowledge in action. So how in the world do we defeat this curse? Well, thankfully, the Heath brothers gave us a 6-part framework. A kind of checklist for making our ideas sticky. Let's start with the first two principles, making our ideas simple and unexpected. First up, simple. And look, simple does not mean dumbed down, not at all. It means finding the absolute, undeniable core of your idea. This one phrase, for example, guided Bill Clinton's entire 1992 campaign. It was so clear and concise that every single staffer could use it as a North Star for every decision they made. Okay, next up is unexpected. To really grab someone's attention, you have to break their mental patterns, their expectations. A journalism teacher gave his students a dry list of facts and told them to write the opening line of a story. Of course, they all wrote the same boring, predictable lead. Then, he dropped the real story on them, the one detail that actually mattered to the audience. He didn't just surprise them, he rewired how they thought about what makes a good story. But look, being simple and unexpected isn't the whole story. If your audience can't picture what you're saying, or if they just flat out don't believe you, your idea is dead on arrival. And that's where our next two principles come in, being concrete and credible. To make an idea concrete, you have to paint a picture in someone's mind. For instance, a health group wanted to show people just how unhealthy movie popcorn was. Saying it has 37 grams of saturated fat means absolutely nothing to most people, but showing them that it's like eating all of this in one sitting? Whoa! Now that is concrete. You can practically feel that. And what about making an idea credible? Well, you don't always need pages and pages of statistics. Sometimes, all you need is one powerful comparison that people can test against their own common sense. So take a second. Which one of these do you think is more likely to kill you? The answer is the deer. And it's not even close. We're talking about 300 times more likely, mostly from car accidents. This works so well because it's a human scale comparison. It uses something we all kind of understand, driving near deer, to make an abstract risk feel incredibly real and believable. All right, we're almost there. We have an idea that's simple, unexpected, concrete, and credible. But for it to really, truly stick, it has to move from the head to the heart. You have to make people care. And that brings us to our final two principles: being emotional and telling stories. To make an idea emotional, you have to focus on the individual. Just like Mother Teresa said, we are moved to act when we see the one, not the mass. Studies have shown this over and over. People will donate way more money to help a single named child than they will to a statistic about millions of children. We are just wired to feel for people, not for abstractions.
And finally, if you want to inspire people to act, you have to use stories. Stories are like flight simulators for our brains. They let us practice how we might respond to a situation. You know, Subway's nutritional facts were totally forgettable. But a simple story, eat this for lunch, eat that for dinner, walk more. That simple plan was the core of the Jared Fogle story, a powerful tale of overcoming the odds that gave millions of people a blueprint for their own lives.
So, when you pull this all together, what's the big takeaway? Well, it's a really powerful shift in how we should all think about communication. It turns out you don't have to be some kind of creative genius to make an idea stick. The most crucial insight here is that making ideas stick isn't some kind of magic. It's a process. It's about systematically using a checklist. Simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and stories. This is your toolkit for beating the curse of knowledge and finally crafting a message that truly lasts.
So the next time you have an important message to share, an idea you believe in, ask yourself this question. Because let's be honest, the most brilliant idea in the world is completely useless if it doesn't stick. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.